I got fired for helping a stranger in the rain. Not for stealing, not for lying, not for wrecking a customer's car, but for fixing it for free so he could reach his sick daughter in the hospital. If it were you, what would you have done? My name is Eli, and this is the story of how losing my job for an act of kindness ended up changing my whole life. Before I dive in, tell me in the comments what time it is, where you're watching from, and what you're doing right now. Are you heading to work, trying to fall asleep washing dishes, or just hiding from the world for a bit? Because I've been there too. All right, let me take you back. I was 22 working at a place called Hamilton Auto Works, a busy garage in the city where the smell of oil and burnt coffee hit you before you even clocked in. Every morning started the same. The clang of tools on concrete, the whine of impact wrenches, somebody laughing too loud at a joke that wasn't really funny. And then there was me limping in through the side entrance at 6:45 a.m., 15 minutes early. Like always, hoping my leg wouldn't slow me down too much that day. The limp came from an accident when I was 7. A drunk driver ran a red light while my mom and I were crossing the street. She yanked me back just in time to save my life, but the car still caught my leg. There were surgeries, months of physical therapy. A lot of nights I heard her crying in the bathroom when she thought I was asleep. I kept the leg, which everyone called a miracle, but it never worked the same again. Cold mornings and long shifts felt like someone was twisting a screwdriver into my knee. So yeah, I moved slower than the other guys. Getting under a car took me twice as long. Getting back up was its own special workout. But under the hood, that was where I came alive. I studied automotive technology at community college. I knew the sound of an engine that was lying to you, and half the time when the others were guessing, I was already picturing the broken part in my head. Did that mean much to my manager? Not really. Most mornings I'd walk over to the job board, that whiteboard that decided who was worth what that day. Brake jobs, diagnostics, transmissions, all the good money. My name was almost never next to the real work. It was always the same guys. Morning limpy. That was Jake. Early 20s, quick with a wrench, quicker with an insult. There is always a Jake in places like that. He'd say it with a big grin like we were buddies, and it was some cute nickname. Morning, I'd say, acting like it didn't bother me, because if I pushed back, it would turn into, "Relax, man, can't you take a joke?" And then suddenly I'd be the problem. You know what I mean. Our manager Martha heard all of it. She never told them to stop. To her, I wasn't really an employee who needed backing. I was more like a talking point. Martha was mid-40s, always dressed like she was 2 meetings away from a promotion, clipboard in hand, like it was part of her body. One morning she called across the floor, not even looking up from her paperwork. "Carter, we've got a fleet inspection coming in this afternoon. I need you to prep the alignment bay, clean the floor, wipe down the equipment, organize tools, make it look professional." "I can take one of the diagnostics," I said. "I finished yesterday's work early." "The alignment bay, Carter," she repeated, giving me that tight smile. "We all have our roles here. Yours is important too." Important. That word felt like a pat on the head. At a diversity meeting a few weeks earlier, she'd actually put a hand on my shoulder and told some visiting executives, "Eli here is proof that we believe in giving opportunities to everyone," like I was a brochure. Later that same day, I overheard her talking to Lisa at the front desk. They thought I was out of earshot, but that garage carried sound like it was built to spread secrets. "We need him for optics," Martha said quietly. "Corporate loves that we're inclusive. But between you and me, we can't put him on anything time-sensitive." I kept sweeping like I hadn't heard a thing. You ever hear something that hurts so much, you pretend it's just background noise, because you don't have the energy to react. Meanwhile, the other guys, Travis and Marcus, worked on the real jobs. BMW's big-ticket work stuff that paid commission. They were younger than me, hired after me, and making more. I didn't hate them. They were just playing the game with the cards they got. The system was the problem. On my lunch breaks, I'd sit outside on the curb, away from the break room, where the loudest voices always win, and eat my same peanut butter and jelly sandwich. One day, I was staring at the traffic thinking about bills, when Travis yelled, "Yo, Eli, you gonna eat that? Or just stare at it? Till it grows legs," Jake added. He's trying to figure out how many steps he can take before his leg quits on him. People laughed. Not everyone, but enough. Travis must have seen something in my face because he came over a minute later. "Hey man, we're just messing with you. You know that, right?" "Yeah," I said. "I know, but every joke has a little truth behind it, and every laugh reminds you you're not part of the club." So why did I stay? Because 4 hours away in the house I grew up in, my mom was fighting arthritis on a Social Security check that never stretched far enough. Her meds cost around $200 a month, even with insurance. Rent, utilities, groceries. It didn't add up without help. So every other Friday, like clockwork, I sent her whatever I could. $250 when things were tight, $300 when they weren't as bad. Around lunch, she'd text, "How's work, baby?" "Don't forget to eat," I'd reply. "Work's good, mama. Just had lunch. How are you feeling?" And she'd lie and say, "Good day today. Don't worry about me." Of course I worried. That's why I showed up. Why I kept my head down. Why I swallowed the jokes and the optics comments. The only thing that was just mine was a dream I almost didn't admit to myself. At night in my tiny room on the 3rd floor of Mrs. Thompson's boarding house, I'd sit at my wobbly little desk and sketch out a shop I didn't have. 2 or 3 bays, a waiting room with comfortable chairs, solid coffee, a place where nobody got hired to decorate a diversity report. I wrote a name at the top of the page, Carter's Auto. I even did the math. Rent equipment lifts insurance permits. I figured I'd need at least 50 grand to get something small off the ground. I had 4,000 in a savings account that paid almost nothing. So most nights the dream felt more like a bedtime story than a plan. Then came that rainy morning. It started light, just a mist. Then turned into a steady downpour that turned the street outside into a gray river with rainbows of oil floating on top. My leg always hated the cold, but I was in the back working on a lazy tire rotation, so I was actually grateful to have a job that didn't require crawling under anything that day. Around 9, I heard the bell over the front door. Through the bay window, I saw a man step into the waiting area, soaked from head to toe, water dripping off his hair and jacket. Mid-50s jeans, cheap windbreaker, the kind of guy you'd walk past without noticing. He went straight to the front desk where Lisa sat. "Excuse me," he said. Voice tight, "I need help. My car died about 2 blocks from here. I was driving and it just stopped. I tried to restart it. Nothing. I really need to get it running." Lisa didn't look up right away. She finished typing whatever she was typing, then put on that customer service smile. "Do you have an appointment, sir?" He blinked. "An appointment? I was just driving. I'm trying to get to Mount Sinai. My daughter's there. She's sick. My phone died. I can't call a cab. I saw this place and, look, I just need someone to take a quick look. Please." Lisa tapped on her keyboard. "Our next available diagnostic is Thursday at 2 p.m. He stared at her. "Thursday. Today is Monday." "Yes, sir. We're very busy." He tried one more time. "I'll pay whatever it costs." "All right, I'm not asking for a full workup. I just need the car to run long enough to get to the hospital. 5 minutes, that's all I'm asking." From where I was, I could hear his voice starting to shake. It wasn't anger. It was fear. You can hear the difference. Lisa's smile faded. "Sir, I understand you're in a difficult situation, but we have a system. If we made exceptions for everyone, we'd have chaos. if you want to schedule for Thursday." That's when Martha stepped out of her office, drawn by the sound of raised voices. She took one quick look at him. Soaked older car keys in his hand, cheap jacket, and I could practically see the judgment hit her face. "I'm the manager," she said. As my colleague explained, "We're not taking walk-ins today. There's another shop about 6 blocks south. They might be able to help." 6 blocks in this rain, he said, voice cracking. "I can barely—" He stopped. Swallowed. "Please, my daughter's in the hospital. I just need to get there." "That's not how we operate," Martha said, polite, but ice cold. "I'm sorry." She wasn't sorry, and he knew it. And so did I. He stood there for a second, soaked and shaking, then nodded and walked back out into the storm. Near the coffee machine, Jake shook his head. "Another guy who thinks his emergency is our problem." Travis shrugged. "Lisa'll send him away. She always does." I set my wrench down. You know those moments when you feel a fork in the road inside you, like you're going to remember whatever you choose for the rest of your life. One voice in my head was saying, "Stay out of it. You need this job. Your mom needs this job. This isn't your problem." The other voice said, "If that was your mom, in that hospital bed, what would you be begging some stranger to do?" So I walked. I limped across the garage toward the front heart, pounding in a way that had nothing to do with my leg. "Carter." "Where are you going?" Martha called out. "That Honda needs to be done by 11. I pushed through the waiting room door without answering and stepped out into the rain. The man was standing on the sidewalk, staring down the street like he was trying to will his car back to life. "Sir," I called, "where's your car?" He turned confused. "What? Your car? You said it died 2 blocks from here." "Which way?" He pointed. 2 blocks east corner of 33rd. "But they said—" "I know what they said," I told him. "I can still take a look. Come on." "You work there?" he asked. "Yeah. Won't you get in trouble?" "Probably," I said. "Let's find your car first." We walked through the rain together, him hurrying me, limping, both of us quiet. When we reached the Volvo, parked half in a loading zone, he popped the hood, and I leaned in, water running down my back. A few checks told me the truth fast. The serpentine belt was snapped clean through, hanging there like a dead snake. "It's your belt," I said. "Serpentine. It runs your alternator and a bunch of other stuff. Without it, the engine's not going to run. Can you fix it?" he asked. "Not properly. Not out here," I said. "But I might be able to rig a temporary fix. It'd be ugly, and it won't last long, but it might get you to the hospital." "Do it," he said immediately. "Please. I'll pay whatever it costs." "Wait here." I said, "I'll be right back." I went back to the shop, straight to the parts room, grabbed a belt close enough in size, and stood there for a second holding it. Technically, taking that part without a work order was stealing. Technically, walking out again without telling anyone was breaking the rules. But technically, leaving a desperate dad standing in the rain because he didn't have an appointment felt worse. So I tucked the belt under my jacket and walked back out into the storm. It took about 20 minutes with numb fingers and a lot of muttered prayers, but I managed to get that wrong belt fitted just tight enough. The man held an umbrella over me the whole time, quiet, just breathing like every second hurt. "All right," I said finally. "Try it." He cranked the engine. It coughed, sputtered, then caught. Rough, but alive. He jumped out, eyes wide. "Thank you. Thank you, God. Thank you. How much do I owe you?" "Nothing," I said. His jaw dropped. "No, please, I insist. I can pay you. You probably bought me time I can't put a price on." "You need that money for your daughter," I said. "Just get to the hospital and get a proper belt put on as soon as you can. Promise me that." "I promise," he said. "What's your name?" "Eli." "Eli Carter." "I'm Daniel," he said, shaking my hand. "Daniel Reeves. I won't forget this." He drove off into the rain, and I stood there for a second feeling the weight of what I'd just done. Then I turned back toward the shop because I knew what was coming. Martha was waiting just inside the door, arms crossed. The whole garage had gone quiet. "Where were you?" she asked. "Helping that man with his car," I said. "The one who didn't have an appointment." "Yes, ma'am." "Did you take parts from our inventory without authorization?" I thought about lying for half a second. Then I thought about my mom and how I wanted to be able to look her in the eye. "Yes, ma'am," I said. "Come into my office," she said. Now, in her office, dripping water onto the carpet, I stood there while she tore into me. "You stole from company inventory. You took on work without authorization. You ignored direct instructions. You do not get to do whatever you want just because you feel sorry for someone. This is a business, Carter." "He was trying to get to his sick daughter," I said. "I didn't charge him. I didn't take a bay. She cut me off. "You know what your problem is. You think being nice makes you special. You think limping around here being humble and helpful makes you better than everyone else. It doesn't. Do you remember why you were hired?" "To work on cars," I said. She laughed cold. "You were hired because corporate loves how we look with you on staff. When they ask about our diversity numbers, we point to you. Look, we employ people with disabilities. We're so compassionate. You're good for our image, Carter, but you're bad for our deadlines. And if you can't even follow basic rules, then we don't need you at all." Those words stung more than every limpy combined. "You're fired," she said. "Effective immediately. Collect your things and leave. And don't use us as a reference. I'll make sure everyone knows what you did here. Can I at least finish the day I asked? I send money home to my mom and—" "No," she said. "You're done now, before you steal anything else." I walked out onto the floor. For once, no one made a joke. I went to my locker, grabbed my thermos, my spare gloves, the photo of my mom in her little garden. I packed my tools into my canvas bag. 3 years of my life fit into one sagging strap. Marcus came over, voice low. "That's messed up, man. You were just trying to help." "Yeah," I said. "But here we are." Travis called from across the garage. "Sorry, Eli, for real." Jake stayed quiet. Lisa stared at her screen like it had the answers. I slung the bag over my shoulder, walked past Martha's office without looking in, and stepped back into the rain, unemployed. Yeah, that happened. 10 minutes later, a bus hit a puddle and soaked me head to toe. My tool bag slipped. The zipper finally gave up, and my wrenches and sockets scattered across the sidewalk. One good 10-millimeter wrench rolled right into a storm drain and disappeared. I knelt there in the rain, hands shaking from cold and anger and something that felt a lot like grief, reaching for a wrench I wasn't going to get back. "You okay, son?" I looked up. An older black woman stood there holding a big umbrella, eyes full of concern. It took me a second, then I recognized her. "Mrs. Thompson," I said. She squinted. Then her face softened. "Eli, oh baby, what happened?" "I lost my job," I said. She didn't ask what I did wrong. She just nodded, shifted the umbrella to cover both of us, and said, "Come on. Let's get you inside. You're dripping all over my sidewalk." "I don't want to be a bother," I said. "You live under my roof," she answered. "That makes you family. Family's not a bother. Get up." In her warm kitchen, she made me tea and let me explain. And when I finished, she shook her head. "You helped a man get to his sick child, and they fired you for it," she said. "Then your boss is a fool. The world needs more people who stop to help, not fewer." It didn't fix anything, but it helped. Upstairs in my room, I finally checked my phone. One missed call, one voicemail from a number I didn't know. Mr. Carter, the voice said, "This is Daniel Reeves, the man you helped this morning. I wanted to thank you again. I made it to the hospital in time and, well, I'll explain more later, but I need to see you. Please call me back at this number. It's important." That was the start of the twist I never saw coming. Stick around, because what happened next will blow your mind. The next morning, after a night of lousy sleep and doing the math on my rent way too many times, I called him back. We set up a meeting at Reeves Tower, 47th floor. I put on my only nice shirt, rode a subway packed with people who all looked like they had more of a plan than I did, and walked into a glass building that probably cost more per month than my whole neighborhood. Upstairs in an office bigger than my entire boarding house floor, Daniel told me who he really was. Chairman of a huge industrial group that supplied parts to companies like the very chain I'd just been fired from. He'd had his team pull the security footage from the shop, audio and all. He'd heard how Martha and Lisa treated him when he walked in soaking wet and anonymous, how she talked about me as good for optics, how she fired me like I was trash, and he'd seen me walk into the rain anyway. He didn't just thank me. He offered me a job back at Hamilton, not as a token, but as lead technical supervisor with a salary more than double what I used to make. On top of that, he slid me a business card and said, "When you're ready to open Carter's Auto, I want to be your first investor." I wish I could tell you I played it cool, but the truth is my hands shook when I held that contract. I thought about my mom, about the nights sketching a fake garage on real paper, about every time I'd swallowed a joke to keep my spot. I took the job. Coming back to Hamilton as the boss was one of the strangest feelings I've ever lived through. The same walls, same stains on the floor, same smell. But suddenly, I had keys to the office Martha used to sit in, and a title on the door. We had a meeting on my first day. The CEO introduced me, told everyone straight up that firing me for helping a customer had been the wrong call, and that things were going to change. Some people looked relieved, some looked confused, and one or two, like Jake, looked angry. I told them what I expected. Respect for customers, respect for each other. No more nicknames that made people feel small no more, turning people away just because they didn't look like money. I said if they saw me breaking those rules, they had the right to call me out too. "Do you think that's fair?" I asked them. A couple of heads nodded. Jake rolled his eyes. It wasn't smooth from there. People don't change just because you gave a speech. Jake pushed back every chance he got, riding the younger mechanics, making jokes that weren't really jokes, staying just inside the line where I couldn't write him up for it. But I pulled him into the office more than once, and eventually he decided he didn't like the new normal and quit. Other people surprised me. Lisa, who'd turned Daniel away that day, slowly shifted. I'd overhear her on the phone with nervous customers actually being patient, explaining options instead of rushing them off. One afternoon, she caught me watching her and shrugged. "Turns out it doesn't kill you to be nice," she said. 3 months later, the shop felt different. Still noisy, still greasy, but lighter somehow. Fewer mean laughs, more real ones. Fewer customers walking out angry, more coming back. That's when Daniel came by with our CEO and set down another folder on my desk. Inside was a proposal to help me open Carter's Auto as a partner shop, backing for equipment help with a lease, contracts for parts. The thing I used to draw at night on scrap paper was suddenly a stack of official documents with numbers and signatures waiting. I talked it over with my mom, with Mrs. Thompson, with the few people I trusted. I was scared, really scared. What if I failed? What if I wasn't as good as they thought I was? My mom told me something I haven't forgotten. She said, "You remember what I told you after your accident when you thought your life was over? I said the world needs people who know what it's like to struggle, because they're the ones who don't forget other people's pain. That's you. Go build the place you needed." So I did. On a warm July morning, I stood in front of a small 2-bay garage in Queens with a fresh sign over the door that read, Carter's auto. My mom was there, leaning on her cane, wiping tears she pretended were just allergies. Mrs. Thompson stood beside her like a proud aunt. Daniel and his daughter Emma came too. Emma smiling with that kind of energy you only see on someone who's been to the edge and walked back. I didn't make a big speech. I just said, "This place exists because people helped me when I needed it, and because I chose to help someone when it cost me something. If you walk through that door, whether you're a customer or an employee, you're going to be treated like you matter. Even if your car's old, even if you don't have an appointment, even if you don't look like money. Especially then." Inside on the wall, there's a frame that says, "Everyone deserves dignity. Everyone deserves respect. Everyone belongs here." That's the rule now. So here's my question for you. I got fired for helping a stranger, and that firing is the reason I'm telling you this story from my own shop today. But should it really take a rich man in a skyscraper watching security footage to make kindness pay off? Should doing the right thing only matter when the right person notices it? If you were behind that counter when a soaked, desperate dad walked in, would you have stuck to the rules or stepped into the rain? Be honest with yourself. Be honest with, do you think what happened to me was fair? Have you ever been punished for doing the right thing? Or watched someone get crushed for showing a little humanity? I want to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment and tell me what you would have done. Tell me if you think I messed up by breaking the rules, or if you've been in a similar spot. Share your agreement, your anger, your own story, even if you completely disagree with me. And if this story hit something in you, do me a favor. Hit like so. More people hear it? Subscribe to the channel, if you haven't already, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss the next story, because somewhere right now, it's raining on somebody who needs help, and someone like you is deciding what kind of person they're going to be. Thanks for listening to my story. I'm Eli. This is Carter's Auto, and the next move, that's on you.